Rap King Diddy finally charged. Despite 34 witnesses accusing him of coercion, secret filming and abuse, the truth behind closed doors. Imagine being one of the hundreds of girls who have walked through the doors of a powerful rap mogul's mansion, only to fall into a hell with no way out. You admired him through TV, through his music, through his glamorous images painted with fame and money. But behind closed doors, there was no music, no spotlight, just control, silence, and suffering. That is what happened to many women who bravely took the witness stand and faced the pain of being abused, brutalized, and treated as sex toys in a sick drama that lasted for years. Their testimonies shook not only the courtroom, but also the hearts of those who still believe in justice. They told of being forced to participate in group sex, being filmed crying and begging, being beaten until bleeding, simply because they refused to submit. But what happened? An 8-week public trial with more than 34 witnesses, hundreds of documents, surveillance videos, and vivid testimonies ended with 2 words: acquittal. Not all charges, but of the most serious ones, human trafficking, criminal conspiracy, gang rape, were all ruled to be insufficient evidence. The crowd outside the courthouse roared with joy. The Kingpin's fans doused themselves with baby oil in celebration. His family wept with joy. But what about the victims? They stood there as if cast back into silence, as if what they had been through did not exist. Was justice listening? As you all know, rap king Sonidcom was arrested in September 2024 on a string of serious charges, including human trafficking, organized crime conspiracy, aggravated physical assault, and coercive sexual relations. These accusations not only shook the entertainment world, but also triggered a wave of public outrage. However, after a tense 8-week trial, the court delivered an acquittal on the most serious counts brought against D. Although the verdict did not convict DT on the gravest charges, it has unleashed a flood of unanswered questions. What makes the public and the media uneasy is the fact that those grave accusations were ruled insufficiently serious to constitute crimes, even though clear evidence from victims' CCTV footage and recordings made inside the defendants' mansions existed. This has led many to ask whether the justice system truly protected the victims. Can money and power alter a trial's outcome? The public now doubts the fairness with which celebrity cases are tried, especially when seemingly clear evidence of forced sex and physical violence still fails to secure convictions. Has the final verdict genuinely done justice to hundreds of victims, or is it another example of the injustice that arises when the legal system handles cases involving famous and powerful people? Let's explore this 8-week trial in today's video. On June 6, 2025, the United States versus Sonic Combs trial officially began in the Southern District of New York Federal Court in Manhattan. For more than 6 weeks of public hearings, Disney's Diddy's case turned into a live courtroom drama, drawing hundreds of reporters, fans, and curious tourists from everywhere. Outside the courthouse looked like one of the Rap King's own concerts, with lines of people queuing from dawn just to secure a seat in the packed courtroom. TikTokers and YouTubers live-streamed the scene outside, making the trial a viral social media topic with millions following every update. The climax came when an overexcited individual stormed in and caused a disturbance. The situation grew so chaotic that rapper Kenny Quest suddenly appeared to support Diddy, forcing security to scramble to restore order. Inside, a 12-member jury witnessed a fierce battle between seasoned SDNY civil rights federal prosecutors and the legendary defense team of Jeff Voice and Plinton. Prosecutor Metis Foster opened with a panoramic picture of Son Cease's dark side. In court, the usually suave music mogul was portrayed as a brutal predator who had turned his business empire into a criminal network serving his twisted sexual appetite. The evidence revealed a man entirely different from the glamorous public persona fans knew. Opposing counsel Tenny Garagos, daughter of famed attorney Mark Garagos, outlined her defense strategy clearly. She freely admitted her client was deeply flawed, prone to violent sex, fond of filming bedroom scenes, known to lose his temper and assault girlfriends and to use powder. Yet she calmly denied that any of this made him a criminal, because everything was consensual and nothing was seriously wrong. Garagos accused the government of criminalizing Die's private life, arguing that prosecutors had turned real-life relationships into an organized crime case. "The truth is, my client might enjoy rough sex," she said, "but he is not a mafia boss and not a human trafficking kingpin." The defense's clear tactic, drawn from a veteran's playbook, was to separate personal morality from criminal liability, turning the trial into a heated debate over sex consent and coercion. Over nearly 7 weeks from early May through late June 2025, 34 witnesses testified for the prosecution. The witnesses delivered gruesome, dramatic details about centicoms. The trial wasn't just a legal battle. It was a struggle to uncover the truth so victims' voices could finally be heard. From the opening days, the media was shaken, especially when Chiventura JD's former lover took the stand. Over 4 straight days, the singer calmly recounted her 11-year nightmare with JD. She began with how at only 19, after signing with JD's Bad Boy label, she quickly fell under his control. Yes, she enjoyed a life of luxury, but she also endured physical beatings, coercion into depraved sex games beyond what ordinary people could imagine. And, of course, she had no right to refuse. C described D as obsessed with abnormal sex. He didn't just like to watch. He would arrange freak-offs, wild group orgies of hundreds of people fueled by powder and baby oil. At these events, C was forced to sleep with dozens of men right in front of D, who simply stood by and filmed it for memories. These sessions lasted for hours until utter exhaustion. Even when CD begged him to stop, "I'm not an animal, I need rest," he ignored her pain. She was made to feel guilty because he supported her financially for years. It wasn't just group sex. She suffered domestic violence throughout the relationship. Whenever things didn't go his way, he beat her sometimes until she bled, slammed her into walls, or kicked her to the floor for refusing to join his orgies. A 2016 hotel surveillance video played in court captured JD yanking C by the hair and striking her in an elevator in Los Angeles. Besides Cass, an anonymous victim known only as Jane testified to a life of control and abuse under his hand. The 32-year-old model began dating JD in 2017. Like Cass, she was swept into a whirlpool of parties, drugs, and the JD organized group sex. At his white parties, Jane often cried and begged, "Please don't force me to sleep with strange men you bring." JD ignored her and kept issuing orders. She submitted like a duty, fearing he would cut off her rent money if she failed to obey. Her testimony reinforced the prosecution's argument that the women around D were victims controlled financially and psychologically. An ex-assistant using the alias Mia also testified that JD groped her while she helped him change clothes. 2 male escorts paid to attend JD's parties admitted they were regularly contacted by JD's manager, invited with promises of 5-star hotels and preset sexual scripts. Rooms were always stocked, scented candles, slow R&B, a closet of toys, lube, condoms, champagne, stimulants. JD would join a few rounds, but mostly sat in an armchair, pleasuring himself while issuing perverse stage directions. These insider accounts gave the prosecution a vivid, convincing picture of JD's disgusting acts, rumors now confirmed. Other witnesses spoke too. Joe Richard, former member of JD-trained group Genity Kens, said JD treated women like property and once saw him screaming and beating a girlfriend in the studio. 5-year personal assistant JK admitted his job included image cleanup, stripping sheets, destroying condoms and drug paraphernalia, anything to hide the aftermath. He said JD routinely ordered bulk baby oil and fresh towels for his mansions and hotels, prepping for sick romps. Christina Coram, an office aide, was accused of arranging hush money for a housekeeper who had witnessed JD's violent sex. Chief bodyguard Jamder Butler was cited repeatedly as always helping JD execute shady plans. A special appearance by famous rapper Kiddy, real name Scott Mascoti, drew intense attention. Kiddy openly admitted a long-standing grudge in 2011 while Kiddy dated Cass, still JD's girlfriend JD, and his bodyguard raided Kitty's Beverly Hills home looking for Cass. Weeks later, Kitty's Porsche exploded outside his New Jersey house. "I know JD was involved," Kitty insisted. Though JD publicly denied it and direct proof was thin, prosecutors hinted the car bomb in the RICO indictment and later had to drop attempted murder, arson, and kidnapping elements. They refocused on coercive sex trafficking, where evidence was stronger. On June 24, 2025, after 34 witnesses and hundreds of exhibits, the prosecution rested. The defense shocked many by presenting no witnesses. JD declined to testify, avoiding cross-examination on sensitive aspects of his life. The defense simply filed some emails into evidence and closed their case in 2 hours, a stark contrast to the prosecution's 7-week barrage. This silence signaled confidence they believed they had mined enough holes in the government's story through cross-examination. Indeed, attorneys Afnafilo and Kyrikos aggressively attacked each key witness, highlighting inconsistencies, emphasizing that Cass and Jane repeatedly voluntarily joined parties and sex with JD never ran to police. They produced texts where Cass called the relationship a modern, beautiful love story and vacation photos showing her smiling with JD to suggest consent. They stressed missing proof linking JD to Kitty's car bomb, or kidnapping a gap that led prosecutors to drop those counts. They argued the government was turning a toxic romance into the criminal case of the century. During 2 days of closing arguments in late June, the prosecution spent 5 hours painting JD as a sex-addicted brute who treated women as slaves. The defense took 4 hours. "My client is a self-made black entrepreneur being turned into a criminal by media frenzy," Afnafilo said. "Mistakes in private life are not crimes." He asked the jury to return Suncoms to his family and the music community, not let him die behind bars. After legal instructions from Judge Subraman, the jury began deliberations on the afternoon of June 30, 2025. Over 3 days, about 13 hours total, the panel of 8 men and 4 women concluded the prosecution lacked proof on the most serious counts. Final verdict. Not guilty on 3 top charges: organized crime conspiracy and 2 sex trafficking counts tied to Cass Ventura and another victim. Avoiding these felonies, each carrying 15 years to life, was a huge win for the former music mogul. But on 2 lesser Mann Act counts transporting persons across state lines for illicit sex, the jury found JD guilty. Each count carries up to 20 years, but guidelines may suggest around 5. His attorneys predict just 2 years, noting he's already spent 9 months in custody since September 2024. Now, 55 JD is set for sentencing on October 3, 2025. He could be home in a few years, as he whispered to family in court. "We'll get through this." When the verdict was read, tension erupted. JD clenched his fist in triumph, then wept. Family and friends cried with relief. Some even shouted, "JD!" He hugged his children. "Be strong," before marshals led him back to jail. Defense Chief Mark Agnifil immediately asked for bail pending sentencing, saying acquittal on major charges changed everything and the jury had given JD his life back. Judge Subraman firmly denied bail, citing the 2016 elevator assault video as clear evidence of violence. "Violence is violence," he said. JD hadn't shown he was harmless if released. JD stood rigid, face set. He briefly sought to speak on his own behalf, then fell silent as the court ordered him detained. Outside, attorney Agnifil told reporters it was a great victory for Suncoms and for the jury system, praising the 12 citizens who stood between my client and a lifetime in prison. Yet women's rights and anti-trafficking groups expressed deep disappointment. MO International released a statement calling the acquittal proof of gaps in prosecuting powerful sex offenders while applauding victims' courage. Attorney Chalk Last Victor, representing Cass, said she did incredibly well and showed the jury JD's guilt, even though he escaped some charges. They will keep fighting. On social media, artists diverged. Rapper Ftisson sneered that JD was too rich and powerful to be subdued. Singer Aubrey Ode, ex-member of JD-backed group Janny Tienkins, wrote, justice didn't come for all his victims. Fans, meanwhile, hailed the verdict, gathering outside with free pub banners and dousing themselves in baby oil to celebrate a nod to the trial's salacious details. The crowd grew so wild that federal police had to disperse them. JD's lawyers had hinted at hidden motives behind prosecutors targeting a powerful black businessman, but Judge Subramon dismissed those claims during trial. With the major charges now gone, clemency talk seems moot, and attention shifts to the upcoming October sentencing. The Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office quickly issued a statement. JD's crimes left deep scars on victims and society. Acting U.S. Attorney emphasized a victim-centered approach would continue in sex crime cases. Though unhappy JD dodged the worst counts, prosecutors seek more than 4 years on the 2 counts he did face, citing his violent nature and lack of remorse, even assaulting a victim in June 2024, while he knew he was under investigation. They argue continued detention is needed to protect the community. Thus, JD's trial ends with a verdict full of holes. He walks free on most charges, yet justice isn't done for many. Sentencing in October will decide his fate on the remaining counts. One thing is clear, this case leaves a stark imprint of how the powerful can impact society and how victims endure abuse of power. What do you think about JD's sentence? Leave your thoughts below so we can discuss. And so, Diddy's trial ends with a verdict many see as full of gaps. Justice will move forward at sentencing this October. Whatever happens, the case has left an indelible mark on how power can warp society and on the suffering victims endure under that power. What do you think of the verdict? Share your thoughts below so we can discuss. An acquittal on the most serious charges does not mean innocence. It simply means that the justice system, despite its efforts, is not strong enough to overcome the wall of power and silence that has been built over the years. The victims have come forward and told the world about their pain. And no matter how long Diddy spends in prison or how soon he gets out, what they tell will be forever etched into history. This is not just the end of a trial. It is the beginning of a larger conversation about power, about justice, and about how society treats victims when the perpetrator is a celebrity. We cannot choose silence. Because when the strongest go unpunished, the weakest are forever hurt. And what about you? Who do you believe in this story? What do you think about the final verdict? Do you still believe in justice? Please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, outrage, or hopes, because your voice is just as important as your testimony in court. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to join Legends of Black Excellence in continuing to expose the truths, the buried stories, and the memories that need to be told, not to glorify, but to remember, to awaken, and to change. Thanks for watching. Remember, the truth may be hidden, but it never disappears.